we have literally made no progress with them. There's so many angry financial advisors out there at the moment, which is so sad.
People are like, I don't want to be in this industry.
I was going to retire in 5 years. Like, I keep doing the little things. We've had so many conversations where I'm like, it's working.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle.
Before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. Welcome to The Business Game, the show where we dive deep into the strategies, challenges, and defining moments that shape today's most inspiring business leaders. I'm your host, Jaimie, and today we're thrilled to have two dynamic entrepreneurs joining us, Megan Eichhorn and Tayla Morris, the founders of Tayme Financial Group, a client-focused financial advisory firm based on Australia's Sunshine Coast. In an industry often marked by skepticism, Megan and Tayla have built a reputation for trust, personalisation, and delivering tailored financial solutions, whether it's superannuation, estate planning, or wealth management. Today, they'll share the lessons they've learned while navigating a competitive and highly regulated market, offering actionable insights for businesses, leaders everywhere. From building unshakable client relationships to standing out in a crowded field and even adapting to global economic shifts, this episode is packed with wisdom you can apply to your own ventures no matter where you are in the world. Get ready for an inspiring conversation, including a pivotal moment that changed how they run their business. Let's jump into the game with Megan Eichhorn and Tayla Morris. So how about you give us a sort of pitch on who you are, how you came about, and where your goals are headed?
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Sure. So I'm Tayla. This is Megan. We co-founded Tayme Financial Group about 4 months ago. We're both qualified financial advisors based here on the Sunshine Coast with about more than 10 years experience each. So 20 plus years experience between the two of us.
Okay.
So we co-founded Tayme Financial Group, a holistic financial planning practice together because we wanted to be able to service our clients the best way possible and provide them with everything that they want and need to achieve their financial goals. And we knew that by teaming up together and kind of bringing our personal approach to these clients and being able to relate to them and really understand them and their goals, be able to give them the advice to get them to where they want to go.
Okay. And so I guess let's go into, so you are co-founders of Tayme Financial Group and you are the directors. So at what point did you two meet and go, this is going to work?
I think, well, the second that we met, we kind of clicked, which is it was just one of those organic relationships. So we were working together at a previous practice. We actually have a little bit of a cool story, which we had no idea about, but our mums went to like primary school together.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And we had no idea. It took, I don't know, Tay had probably been working there for 2 weeks, I think. And on her first day, I was like, I feel like I know you. And we went through all of the normal, like, did you go to this school? Did you work here?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. And we both were like, what is going on? Like, I know you. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks into her being there, she was like, I'm going downstairs for lunch with my mum. She went downstairs. I happened to be on the phone and I was looking like out the window. And I was like, I know that lady crossing the road. And it all just like dawned on me. I was like, oh my gosh. And I went downstairs and her mum was like, Megan. I was like, now I know. So our mums went to primary school together and we're friends and we just hadn't seen each other for probably, I don't know, 20 years or something.
Okay, wow.
Wild.
So friends that have lost contact that have come back together.
Yeah.
And now you're building a business.
Yeah.
So so a lot of people, and I found like we've spoken to like a lot of startups and a lot of different CEOs and founders and whatnot. And we find that quite often the synergy between two co-founders, it's like this perfect storm almost. Yeah. So one will bring in X and one will bring in Y and it just fits. So how have you guys found that in your processes so far because you've got friendship as well. A lot of other stories, they don't have that friendship that started there. So how have you found that in business, bringing that together?
I think the friendship has made it easier, to be honest. A lot of people have said to us it's such a risk. like
Yep.
going into business with someone that you're so close to
Mhm.
is such a risk. And obviously we can see that. But going into this, we both said to each other, you know, the friendship will always be there. We will never do anything that's going to impact the friendship. But the thing is, because we are so close, I literally said to her this morning, I was like, we're like yin and yang, but in the best possible
Yeah.
way. And I think that that's what makes us work.
Okay.
We joke to people, you know, we're like, we're a package deal because we are literally better together. We can function individually, but we're better together
Yeah.
on so many things. So that probably doesn't always come through like from a client perspective, because we're totally happy to deal with our clients
Mhm.
individually. Sometimes we do it together. We love
Yeah.
that side of it too. But it's just one of those things, we just get each other,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. We're
Okay.
very lucky.
Yeah, that is, it's amazingly lucky because, I mean, you don't always hear that. So when you were starting of thinking of this business, because what I want to get out to our viewers and our listeners is in the processes of you going, we've got an idea, we already work together, we know how each other works, let's build this business. How did you go from working together for like another corporate company to breaking away from that? And how did you start the processes of building your business?
Well, I mean, our origin story for Tayme Financial Group started a little over a year ago. We were
Mhm.
actually away together on conference.
Yep.
In Bali, beautiful tropical landscape.
It was
Nice.
terrible.
Yeah.
That
That must have been hard.
you know,
It was
and
rough.
we survived but we were surrounded by so many incredible other business owners and financial advisors. And we were there representing the business that we worked for.
Mhm.
And at the end of the conference, we had all this information that we were going to take back to our practice and implement that. But we just started having these really organic, authentic conversations with other people that we'd met. And they started asking us questions like, who are you? What do you do? What do you want to do? Would you ever consider starting your own business? And we both kind of looked at each other and said, no.
Scary.
And
So scary.
So scary.
They said, why? And we both went, I don't quite have an answer for that.
Yeah.
And that little thought just planted the seed into something that just grew and grew and grew. And then I had all the confidence that Megan could start a financial planning business, be amazing at it. I could never do it. I'll come and work for you. And then once again, I think it was just that lack of confidence that I had internally, and that dialogue that I'd, subconsciously had over the years that I'm happy to do what I'm doing. And then it just started growing and growing. And it was almost like once that idea started and we started talking about it, we spoke to husbands about it, and we thought, oh my gosh, I think we could actually do this. I think we could do it together, and I think we would be amazing. And then just to build that confidence, and we surrounded ourselves with some friends, family, and kind of industry mentors that gave us that pathway to go from an idea into what we actually needed to do to make it happen realistically.
Okay. So what is your goal from here? What is that's our business nirvana? What is that goal? And then once I've got that answer, let's work backwards from there and go into the nitty gritty of how we're going to do this.
Yeah. What's the goal? Honestly, it still changes month to month. Like
Yep.
we go a little bit, no, we'll be happy with that. Actually, no, we want to build this behemoth thing. But I think at the core of it, we've had so many conversations about the fact that our lifestyle comes first.
Mhm.
And so everything we're doing is to build this business so that we can still have a life. And
Yep.
it's something that we try to impart on our clients as well, because it's like, you're not doing this just to make money. You're making money to do something, to have something, to have the ability and the freedom and the flexibility to do something. So for me in particular, I've got kids. And so I just want to be able to be there for my kids
Yep.
when they have something on, when they come home and say, Mum, I've got something on at school tomorrow and I forgot to tell you,
Mhm.
that I have the flexibility to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And they want Auntie Tay there too. So
Oh,
that's pretty
gorgeous.
beautiful. So it's definitely to get the business to a point where obviously we are profitable and comfortable, and we're helping clients that we have a really good cohesion with and that we
Yeah.
can work with really well, but that we still are able to live, that we're not running ourselves into the ground to be able to provide this to the clients. Because I think that's something that we have found with this business that is working for us, is that we're so authentic with the clients. We're like, this is who we are. We work really well with some people. We don't work really well with other
Yeah.
people. And that's okay. And we're happy to say that. But at the end of the day, we want them to understand this business is being built for us to have a lifestyle, but to be able to show them that they can build their own strategies and their own lives to be able to have the freedom and flexibility that they want.
It's a good way to be. And I think, you know, we're on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. Like that alone, we're unbelievably lucky. But our show goes out sort of globally.
Yeah.
So, and I think for those that don't know of viewers and listeners, like we're very lucky in Australia that we do have a bit more of a work-life balance than what a lot of other countries and cultures have. And we can implement that. So what would your advice be for, I guess, people sort of overseas and in Australia of how to balance this work life? Because the balance is very out for a lot of people. Like it's, you know, work. Oh, I get to go home and sit on the couch. And that's because a lot of people only have that energy, right? Yeah. So what would your advice be going out to these people, and especially to other founders and, you know, decision makers that are running these businesses, how to balance that work-life style?
Yeah.
It's been a massive learning experience. And I think the first thing that came into my mind, which is something we've said constantly, is that you can't pour from an empty cup across all facets of life. So we can't be the best advisors for our clients. We can't be the best business partners. We can't be the best family members at home if our cups are empty. And it is finding that balance between work, life, social, health, and everything in between. But I think once you kind of put that at the forefront and realize that you're doing a disservice to yourself if you don't prioritize those things. Yeah. And while it's hard to do that off the front foot, and usually it does take some kind of breakdown or burnout to realize that I can't do it all. I can't be all to everyone if I'm not looking after myself.
Yeah. And I think also understanding what your balance is, because balance is different to everybody.
Yeah.
Like balance to me is like, I want to not be screaming at my kids to get out of the house in the morning. I just know that they have to be at school at a certain time. And then I work my work life, you know, around that. That's balance for me, that I can be there and help them and those sorts of things. So I think for anyone else, it's work out what your balance is. Yeah. And kind of work your way backwards from there. Because I don't think with anything there's a one size fits all approach.
No, I agree. And I guess as well, especially being two women, like unfortunately the stigma is that the mums are the one at home with the kids, and you know I think that is slowly that sort of ideology of that is slowly changing. There are more stay-at-home dads and stuff like that, but I think two women is quite empowering, and this is the first time like we've actually had this, like two women come in as co-founders, that you've got children, that you are working out how to start a business, run a business, be the founders of a business, be successful, and be mum and, you know, wife, girlfriend, whatever it may be, and have that family lifestyle around that. So, okay, let's get into the more in-depth questions. So Tayme Financial Group emphasizes a client-centric approach to financial advice. What specific strategies have you implemented to build trust and long-term relationships with clients in an industry where there is skepticism about financial advisors in common? And how can other service-related businesses follow these principles?
Yeah, look, I think this one's easy for us. Just be authentic.
Yep.
Be able to be really honest with your clients. Don't tell people that you can do things that you can't do. You know, be okay saying that's not us, we're not a good fit, whatever it may be. There is no point over promising and under delivering something. We're always the other way. So, you know, I just think authenticity is such a huge thing, particularly in our profession, because there has obviously been so many things that have happened in the past. And it's one of the things that we're sort of out there to change people's perception of, you know, financial advisors and what they look like and how they act and all of those sorts of things. We are a little bit different and we're happy with that. We actually like it. But yeah, authenticity is a massive thing. And I think that goes across any service-based business. It's not just financial planning.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I think, you know, keeping clients or customers or whoever it may be in check about exactly who you are and who they are and what they need.
Yeah.
Rather than just the ever hungry money grab of like, oh, this is a sale, this is that. We'll just get it and we'll hope for the best.
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do across any board in any business.
Yeah, you just do yourself a disservice.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, like you are literally setting yourself up for failure if you don't have the confidence to say, that's not something that we can do well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Have you got any examples, and you don't need to be specific, but like people that you've had come to you where you were like, this is not going to work? How did they then take that, and how do you then sort of, I guess, adjust your narrative to send them to someone else?
I'm going to let you take this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about being transparent with what it is that we can do and the best way that we can help clients. So specifically for us, we provide holistic advice, which covers such an array of areas, but there are definitely some areas where we just don't have that expertise or knowledge in as much as someone else. And the way we see it is we're not competitors with other businesses and advisors on the coast or broader than the coast. We're all working together in this industry, and our utmost priority is to find the best solutions for our clients, whether that is us or someone else. That's our goal. So we have had a few circumstances where someone's come to us needing some advice, and it's just not something that we are 110% confident that we can give them the best outcome.
Yeah.
Just, maybe we don't have that expertise or knowledge. Maybe it's a time thing. Maybe it's even a personality fit, or we identify that they would gel with someone of a different demographic, whatever it might be. But because we have these relationships in the industries with our colleagues and they're not competitors, we're confident that we can say, look, we can't help you right now, but you need advice, or you need a help, or you need this professional. There's someone else that we trust that we can pass you on to. Have a chat with them, see if it's a good fit for you, and you make that informed decision if that's someone that you want to work with. I think when we approach it with that honesty and transparency, we haven't really had much kickback.
No.
No one really says, oh, you should have told me that you couldn't do this, because we never, as you said, we never overpromise and underdeliver of anything that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like we've also had a client that came to us and she was like, oh, I want, some assistance with this. And Tay ended up saying to her, like, we just can't justify our fees for what you want. And so we're not comfortable giving you the advice. There's some general things that you can go and do. And, once you've done them, come back to us. And she rang like a couple of months later and was like, I've just come into a heap of money that I wasn't expecting. And she was so grateful that you were so open and honest with her about the fact that we couldn't justify the fee at the time, that she was like, I want you to help me. So
oh, wow.
it just,
that's best case scenario, isn't it really?
Yeah.
That is best case scenario.
It is, yeah. And it was such a beautiful moment, I think, for you as well. And you didn't realize it at the time. But I was like, remember what you did for her. Remember the impression that you made on her, because you were so open about the fact that you just didn't feel it was in her best interest. And, that we have a legal requirement, but it's just good business, in our opinion, to always have your client's best interests at heart.
Okay. So from there, your website highlights tailored financial solutions from super to estate planning. How do you balance delivering that highly personalized services with the operational demands of actually growing a business? And what lessons have you learnt that could help other entrepreneurs?
We automate everything that we can.
Yeah.
Everything that's not like a really important client touch point, we automate it.
Okay.
Because that's not where our time is best spent. Our time is best spent with our clients. So anything that's not going to take away from your client's experience, automate it. Anything that is, that really important touch point where the clients know that you're there for them and they can contact you, make a point of putting your time and your effort into those areas. So yeah, it's probably been one of the biggest things that we've learned is just put the time in up front.
Yep.
If you can see the benefit to it down the track, to automate it, to spend a few hours creating a document, for example, that you're then going to be able to pre-populate, for example. And that's going to save you heaps of time in the future, but you've got to put in the time up front to get that efficiency.
What programs and softwares are you using to do this?
We limit it as much as possible.
Yeah, we use a software called Xplan, which is a financial planning CRM modeling tool, advice document generation tool. In the industry, it's not loved so much. It can be a little bit clunky. A lot of people love to hate Xplan, but we love to love Xplan
we
and
love
shout
it
it from the rooftops because no, it's not the prettiest, but it does everything that we could possibly want. There's a lot of integration that it has with, other product providers out there. Compliance wise, it's got the massive tick, which is what we want to make sure is covered. And there's so many ways that we can automate things through there, have, a track record of everything that's going on. And while there are so many other cool, shiny new tech solutions out there, which definitely may have their place in a business, especially as AI comes into play, which we use AI a lot.
Yeah.
We have found that having our tech stack quite limited has been the best thing for us, rather than being distracted by these shiny new tech solutions and going, how can we stack this on? What we do, rather than having something fall across our table and go, oh, this is cool, can we include this in our process? We look at our processes and go, are there any gaps that we need to fix? Okay, what's our solution? Rather than the other way around, being distracted by the new tech. We come back to our processes, our foundations, and say, is there a roadblock here? Is there a bottleneck? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get my next question would be, when you are looking at the point of scaling, what are your thoughts then on having a reduced tech stack? Because normally the more you scale, the more tech you get in. So how do you think you'll overcome that as you continue to scale?
I guess we have a contrary view on that, because we honestly think the simplified tech is the way to go, even with when you're scaling. We went to an event once and we saw someone's supposed tech stack put up on a screen. And I was like, you can't even know how they all work, let alone how they integrate and what each of them can actually do when you have that many going on. You could narrow it down to 10 of those, for example, not 25, and still get everything that you need when you actually understand what the tech that you've got can do.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest failures that we've seen, and one of the biggest misconceptions that we've seen is people going, oh, but it can't do that. Like Xplan, for example, but it can't do that. And we're like, yes, it can. You've got to spend the time to understand the tech that you've got, and understanding what it can and can't do. And as Tay said, like sometimes it's a little bit clunky. Sometimes it's not the prettiest thing out there, but it does the job.
Everything is always a little bit clunky.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like if you're paying for it, understand what you're paying for.
Yeah.
And understand what it can offer you. And I think that is something that is so big for us. Obviously being, a startup, we're conscious of all of those things. So we're like, we want the best experience.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're not going to be outlaying money left, right, and center just for the sake of outlaying money.
Yeah.
Because we think that we've got something that's shiny and is going to do something special.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are your views on, I guess, being in a startup and in the financial world, on bootstrapping versus fundraising in going into the startup world?
It's probably not something that we have entertained, I don't think.
No.
Whether it's a little bit of a view of we want to succeed and we want to accomplish this, just us.
Yeah. We didn't really want anybody else
in
it.
And I mean, for a few reasons we chose that. It's so that we make the decisions, we've got the control. Although we are yin and yang and we complement each other with our individual strengths and weaknesses, our values, like our fundamental values about what we do for work and how we live our lives, are the same. And we like that kind of flows through to our business with no other involvement or from anyone else.
I agree.
Oh, I understand. We've spoken to, so many startups and whatnot. And I think the general consensus is if you can bootstrap.
Yeah. Look, it was never even a consideration to do anything but that. We were like, can we do it between the two of us with our husband's support? Can we do it? Can we do it between the two of us? Yes. And if we couldn't say yes, honestly, I don't think we would have done it, because we didn't want was to have to answer to anybody else.
Yeah. I think once you get middle management that comes in, your best laid plans can be like, oh no, but we need to see the outcome of, Y for X.
Yeah.
And that, I think, upsets sort of in the feedback that we've had, it can upset what your actual vision can be because it gets changed. However, there has been a lot of companies out there that have had to fundraise that are, have blown up and scaled and, they're multi-million, billion-dollar companies. So I can understand on both sides.
Yeah.
But I guess what is your goal in regards to scaling? Where do you want to be by, say, 1 year, 5 years' time?
I mean, we have a mind map. We have a business plan that has us 1 year, 5 year retirement down the track.
Yep.
And as Megan said before, we kind of jump between let's, get our business to a point where we have 100 clients each. We're able to service them exactly how we want. We've got a team behind us who helps us with that. And we tap out of that and go, we're really happy with this boutique firm that we've created and it represents us. We go between that and recognizing some parts of the industry where is lacking.
Yeah.
And, even just to bring a stat into this, in financial advice, 80% of advisors are male and the average age is 52 years old. So for Megan and I to have such a contrarian position against that,
absolutely,
we go, maybe we could create an environment where other young professionals, other females, have a safe, welcoming place for them to learn and grow. And then we jump between wanting to, as Megan said, create this behemoth business where we, train up other advisors and pass on everything that we've learned in our careers and keep that going.
Yeah.
The goals in between there, I mean, at the end of the day, it's work-life balance. It's being able to, be there for the important times with our families, holiday when we want to, recognize some burnout coming on and knowing that there's no guilt in needing to take some time off or some time down because, either we've got each other's back or the business is set up to continue to roll along with everything being automated for us to take a breather.
Yeah. I mean, automation, I think, is key. And I think a lot of businesses are realizing that, especially with AI being such a massive influence at the moment, and it's going to continue being that. It's not, we can't, turn back time on AI. It will continue to grow and continue to be implemented in how we do things, and things will continue to be automated. How do you think AI is going to affect financial groups like yourselves?
We use it as a tool, so we don't see it as a threat.
Yeah.
For some people, it should be a threat because they haven't kept up with it. And so it might be the thing that gives them a little bit of a kick up the bum and goes, hey, wake up. This is the way that it is. For us, it's a tool and we love it. We love AI. But because of what we do and, our entire business is built on relationships and trust and all of those kinds of things, you can't take the human out of that relationship entirely. So
I couldn't agree more.
There are things that, we can do that AI assists us with and makes quicker and, blah, blah, all of those things. At the end of the day, our clients want to pick up the phone, they want to talk to us or they want to meet with us, and we're still always going to be there for them. So yes, it's fantastic. Yes, it's a little bit scary sometimes. We totally agree with that. But I don't see it as a disruption as such because, you're always going to need that human side of it in financial advice.
Absolutely. Like AI, where it gives you the information, but you, a human, still has to prompt it to do all of these things and then still has to take that information and then implement it. So I agree. I do wonder when it comes to, figures in particular, how much that's going to continue the process of automating that further and further and further and further, because I mean, it is almost like a code within itself. So it's definitely an interesting spot to watch with AI in that financial space.
Absolutely.
Going on from there, so the financial space has a lot of regulatory sort of challenge. There's a lot,
it
isn't
does.
there?
Yeah.
It's insane. So it is heavily regulated, which can be, I guess, very daunting for smaller firms. Can you share a specific challenge that you were faced with the compliance or industry regulations that you can let us know that, and other smaller businesses of, okay, this is what we dealt with. Let us pass on this information that you think would maybe benefit other entrepreneurs in this area?
I would say try not to see it as a burden.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
look at it positively and see the benefit that it has. So particularly obviously in financial services and everything that this industry and profession has been through to get us to the point where we have this regulation. I'm not saying I agree with all of it.
Yeah.
I am currently finishing my last bridging course because my bachelor degree, my advanced diploma, my certified financial planner, all of my certifications are not enough for me to technically be qualified to be a financial advisor at
Really?
the end of this year. So I am in the process of finishing that. And there have been days where I have said bad words and, all sorts of things. Because I'm like, I've been doing this for a decade. I've got all of those things. My bachelor is technically unrelated. So it was a Bachelor of Business. It's technically unrelated, but all of my other study has been direct in financial services. So I was like, okay, I've done everything that I need to do. That changed. The education pathways changed. And that is a blessing and a curse because those of us who really want to do this job and be in this profession, you just have to step up to the mark. You've just got to do what you've got to do to be able to do it. So in saying that, I kind of look at it now and I'm like, you've kind of got to have the best of breed though.
Yeah.
Because of the regulation, it has to be the best of breed that's still in this profession. So I would say don't see it as a burden. It can be, absolutely. But try and be positive about, what that means for the consumer. At the end of the day, we're so focused on our clients. I will do these courses until the cows come home if I have to be like, I'm happy to put in the hours.
Yeah.
Because I'm so passionate about this industry and about the changes that it can make. So it is incredibly highly regulated, but we just try and stay abreast of it the best that we can and have people on your side who can help you keep up with it. Like our licensee helps us keep up with that because we are only human beings. There's only so much that we can do. So bring in people that can help you and make sure that you are on track and you're understanding and, you're not missing any of those really important things.
So the courses, that's obviously one massive thing that you're going to probably have to keep doing throughout your career. What are some of the other heavily regulated things that I guess has created a challenge for you? Is there like one instance where you're like, oh, gosh, it's like banging my head against the wall?
I think sometimes it is communicating to clients what it is that we can and cannot talk about informally or, to start with versus what we actually need to put in an advice document. So whenever we provide personal advice, which is the personal tailored in the client's best interest to meet their goals, we have to go off, do our research, comply with all the regulation, put a document together and present it to a client, telling them why it's in their best interest. And that's a long process. There's money, time involved, research involved in that. Sometimes clients just sit in front of you and go and have a question and they go, but I just want the answer to this. And whilst we know the answer, we can't just tell them because that constitutes personal advice. And that means we need an advice document. And if the client were to act on it and something happened, that's on us. And so when we have conversations with clients, we really try to keep things as general as possible, which is what we're allowed to communicate in our social media, in newsletters and emails, that kind of thing. And that's sometimes probably when you have someone sitting in front of you or a family member or someone who maybe can't afford your fee just yet and they need the help and you go, I'm essentially handcuffed here by compliance.
Like I can't help you at this point in the relationship and that is heartbreaking.
Is in that situation, is it overregulated?
It's so hard to say because it's so much damage could be done to the client if you don't fully understand their circumstances.
But when it comes to like family and friends. And, I'm sure there's people out there. I'm sure there's a percentage of advisors or whatever that are like, I'm going to tell you.
Right? Oh, absolutely.
Should you not be allowed to give advice to your family and friends?
I
without
think,
risk of losing what you've built?
I think if, being family and friends for the most part, you understand their circumstances. They're very open with you because you are a family member. For the most part, and this does not go for everybody. But and is it overregulated? Yes. In instances, absolutely. There has been submissions that have been made and that we have literally made no progress with them at the moment.
Wow.
And that is just like, it's heartbreaking. And there's so many angry financial advisors out there at the moment, which is so sad because it's like you just need to focus on your business, but they're so frustrated by the fact that nothing is happening.
So how does that change?
There's, as you said, there's submissions made to change some of that red tape in our industry, which will help us.
Yeah.
It's not going to change what we do. It's not going to change the quality of the advice. It's just going to change what we have to do behind our computer for 8 hours straight, to get that document. I don't think that's going to happen quickly. And unfortunately, after what the industry and this profession has been through, and those few bad eggs have essentially, they've tarnished it for us. And I'm pretty confident to say a majority of those advisors left in the industry are the good ones.
Yep.
They're the ones who have the experience, have the education, are continuing to educate themselves. And essentially when the education pathway changed, everyone kind of had to look internally and go, I'm about to run a really steep uphill marathon here to continue to do the job I've always been doing. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
And us standing here today have said, yes, it is worth it. But I don't think it's going to change quickly.
It's not going to change quickly. The only thing that's going to change is, I think, for any of our politicians, financial services ministers, to understand exactly what we do and what our challenges are on a daily basis.
Come and sit in our office and see where our time is spent.
Well, they're not going to do that.
No.
It's not going. We'd love them to. We would love them to, but it's not going to happen. But this is the thing.
Why would you get real world experience?
So then you've got members, you've got industry groups, all of those kinds of things that are making these submissions on our behalf, and we are so incredibly grateful for the work that they put in to do that. And sometimes they're out there going, oh my gosh, give us some feedback so that we can put it into this submission. But then you've got business owners, financial services business owners out there who are so under the pump that they don't have time to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's such an incredibly difficult position. And that's why we will, wherever we can, help with those kinds of things. But we have to understand as well that we have to try not to see it as a burden. We have to try and move on and be positive about it and just say, well, we are as compliant as we possibly can be. And hopefully the clients see that, as a little bit of peace of mind as well.
Yeah. So going from now, there is a lot of financial advisors out there, and there's a lot of people in your space.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate between you? So we've touched on, you guys being sort of very clear about what you can and can't do, and being very open, and keeping expectations real, of stuff like that. But what makes you different to other people? So you're based on the coast.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you'll take clients that aren't necessarily located on the coast as well.
Yeah.
So why are they coming to you?
I think the fact that we're fully remote is something that's a little bit of a differentiator for us and other advisors. We've had advisors say to us, you have to have a physical presence. You have to have an office. We don't believe that that's true.
I agree. If I can do something online where from the comfort of my home or my desk at lunchtime, or I will, to the point I will look for a doctor.
Yeah.
I don't have to actually go into their waiting room and wait.
Yeah. So we're fully remote. If the clients happen to be here on the coast, we're totally happy to meet with them. We find some of our older clients tend to still like for us to meet with them, personally, and that's cool. We love it. We love spending time with them. We love talking to them. The other thing that we love is that when we get the younger clients, is that they can do it on their lunch break. They do not actually have to take time out of their day to talk to us. They don't have to drive. They don't have to find a car park. Any of those things, we're like, hey, just jump on your phone. Like, we just need an hour of your time at the most, to go through a few things and that sort of thing. And you can still have this relationship and build the relationship. You don't have to have something physical.
And I think on the back of lockdowns, because Australia, we copped it the worst. I was in Melbourne. I lived in Melbourne at the time. So no, it was a nightmare. Queensland wasn't much better. So I think we are used to, the world is now used to it, of being like, oh, we'll just call you up on the computer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to see you in the flesh.
Yeah.
I think personally, any business that hasn't got that as an option is mental.
Yeah. I think
Like
that's
they're just putting
yeah.
themselves in a space of disadvantage.
Yeah, it's just where the world is moving.
Yeah, it is.
Love it or loathe it, that's the way that it is.
Yep.
So that's something that I guess we find is a little bit of a differentiator. I mean, in terms of there being so many financial advisors, there are, but there aren't. Like the financial advice profession has halved
Really?
in the last 5 years, 6 years.
Why is that?
Because of the education pathways. Because there were so many people that were
So they've regulated it to a point that people are like, I don't want to be in this industry.
They, particularly some of the advisors that have been around for a very, very long time. And they're like, I was going to retire in 5 years. Like, I'm not going to go and do a bachelor equivalent, education to turn around and retire. And so you've had all of that experience leave the industry. And that's really sad. You can't replace that experience that some of those people had. So the industry has effectively halved in that period of time. So yes, there's a lot of us, but I think there's only 16,000 in Australia.
Really?
So 16,000. So, and this is the thing. So a qualified financial advisor, there's only about 16,000 of us. I saw an article recently. I believe the person was in Western Australia claiming to be a financial advisor, was not registered on the financial advisors register. Like wasn't actually a qualified financial advisor. So it's funny, we talk to people. We were together the other day and Tay got a message from someone and she was like, people still don't know what financial advisors do.
Yeah.
Like it was like a family member asking like, hey, can you do this? And we're like, we're not accountants, we're financial advisors.
Yeah.
Okay, so for then our listeners,
in
a nutshell, what do you do?
We don't do tax returns.
Damn it, I was going to ask you to do my upcoming one.
We do not do tax returns. So we effectively are the big picture people, right? But we get down into the nitty gritty of it. So it's like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? In this scenario, how would this work? We're working out what all of the scenarios are and what the best one is for them to take. Now, what that does is it encompasses their cash flow, their superannuation, through to their estate planning. So all of those things that you kind of said right at the start, it was like, it's such a broad area, and it is, but it's like, if this is where you want to go, because that's something we talk about all the time with our clients is their goals. You tell us where you want to be. You give me a picture of where you are now and I'll tell you how to get there.
Yeah.
And so it's organizing all of that. But one of the things that we're finding, I think particularly now that we've got a little bit of freedom and that kind of thing with our business, is having all of the right people on your side. That might be your broker, your accountant, a real estate agent, if that's the kind of person that needs to be in the picture. We bring them all into the mix, because there is no point us saying to a client, this is how you get to your goal, if you don't have the right people to help you along the way. So we're there doing modeling and projections and, doing research and understanding products that they're using. So whether that's their superannuation fund, an investment provider, whatever that is, what their actual underlying investments are. Have you ever looked at your underlying investments? Because that's something that we find people say all the time. Like the amount of people that have said to me, I don't pay fees in my superannuation. And I'm like, I'm banging my head up against brick wall. Yes, you do.
Yeah. I know I pay fees on the 3 different ones that I've got that aren't consolidated.
There you go. And you know what? There are risks in consolidation as well. So all of these things, people come to us and go, oh, I'm just going to roll all of my funds into one. And we're like, whoa, no, stop.
Yeah.
Do not do anything, because you don't understand what you're potentially losing if you do that.
Yeah.
And so we are the sounding board, we're the guide to help people to bring all of the right professions in to get people where they're trying to go.
Okay. So economic shifts, which we are... Well, it's not just us. There's a lot of countries hurting at the moment. Yeah. So with uncertainty, that often impacts clients' decisions. How do you adjust your approach in advising clients during a sort of volatile time like this? One that we're looking down the barrel of possibly continuing to get worse. How do you approach clients where you're saying one thing and they're like, but we are terrified?
And I mean, behavioral finance is such an interesting topic, and we kind of have quite a few touch points in our industry throughout the year as advisors to continue to help educate us on how we coach our clients through times of uncertainty. And that's when we, as Megan said, we're that sounding board, we're the bigger picture people to sit there in front of clients and remind people what their strategies are, why we put them in place, and how they're going to work in their favor. And we like to remove the noise. We like to try and not repeat what is said on media, and just get back to the fundamentals of what it is that the client's wanting to achieve and where that fear is coming from. And as we all know, that fear often comes from unknown, the uncertainty, and media. And we look at what we can control for our clients. We can't control the market.
Yep.
We can't control a lot of things that's going to happen there. But what we can control is the information they get that's going to impact their decisions. And if a client comes to us and say, the market's crashed, I want to sell out, which is a very common thing.
Oh, yeah,
that everyone
knee-jerk reaction,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
And we get down to the nitty-gritty of the why, which is the fear. And we just give them that information to help them. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not making decisions for clients. They're still making the decision. We're giving them all of the information, telling them what's in their best interest and giving them that education piece. But we want them to understand what it is they're doing and know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
And, that the times of uncertainty, that's when we use that as an opportunity to be even more present in front of our clients. We use it as an opportunity to have more touch points, whether it's through our social media, through newsletters, phone calls and emails, to say, we're here for you. We've got our finger on the pulse over here, but we're also not going to react in a knee-jerk way, the way that some other people may.
Yeah.
If you have questions, we're here for you. But, I know that it can be instinctive to have times of uncertainty and shy away and go, things are bad. I'm just going to lay low and hope the clients don't ask any questions. That's not what we want to do. We're not going to shy away when times get tough.
Yeah.
Our job at that point is to be the calm in the storm.
Yeah.
That is literally what we're there for, is to say, aside from the fact that the markets have gone a bit skew-iff at the moment, what else has changed?
Yeah.
And when you kind of remind them of that, they're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then we remind them of, the measures that we've already put in place for when these periods occur, because they're going to occur.
And how do you protect your business in an economic shift and forecasting? Our forecast, we're told it doesn't look great.
Yeah.
So how do you protect your own business?
We're kind of fortunate in that, well, I guess in a way we actually work harder when things are uncertain, because people are like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Quick, I need a plan. So in a way we do work harder when things are a little bit uncertain. But in terms of protecting it, I think it is just continuing to do what we do, continuing to be authentic, continuing to show up, because what we found is that when we do all of those things, the clients just approach us because they're like, oh, you're real,
Yeah.
We're so down to earth. We're so open about those things that we honestly have found that, yes, it's uncertain, but we just keep doing what we're doing and people seem to align with that.
Yeah.
So we're conscious of it. But again, like being in a growth phase, we're like, we know that there's going to be ups and downs anyway. So it's just another day at the office in a way.
Yeah.
For us.
Fair enough. So financial advisory needs vary widely across different cultures and countries, and their economics as well. So there are some core principles that are, trusted amongst the wider industry, I'm assuming. And basically the delivery of what that is remains the same. But how have you tailored your approach at Tayme Financial Group to address unique financial concerns of clients on the coast?
I honestly don't think it matters where our clients are.
Yeah.
And that was why we went down this path with this business, because I'm like, I could literally have a client who was down the street.
Yeah.
And that does not change from a client who was in Western Australia.
Okay.
So we haven't found, to be honest, that we have necessarily had to adapt anything in the business based on location. But I kind of think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where they are. We don't have to tailor it based on specifically where they are. We will, in many aspects, I guess, we meet clients where they're at. So that can come in the form of when they approach us, they might not have the education to be able to make to be able to make that informed decision. And so we meet that client where they're at. You might have someone come to you who's super sophisticated, and you meet that client where they're at. That obviously can change in terms of physicality and literally, like if there's someone here on the coast, we will go and meet with them if that's what they want. But then it doesn't really matter. As I say, it can be someone down the street. It could be someone on the other side of the country. Yeah. We haven't really found that we've had to change the business as such to cater for them. Every single client is so different in what they need. And as you say, whether that's in Australia, overseas, we don't obviously give advice overseas, but it doesn't.
Is that something you would hope to expand at some point?
Can't do it.
You can't.
Can't do it.
So you're regulated to Australia only.
Yeah. Which is fair because we don't understand
Their
their
Other
law, like,
laws and rules.
yeah. So we don't get, and that's fine. I actually don't know anyone who could do a really good job of that because our brains can only cope with so much. So no, it's not something that we hope to do. We just hope to, I guess, become well known in Australia.
Yeah.
And be that trusted point of contact for people in Australia.
Yeah. So we're coming to the tail end, sadly, because I've learned a lot. So before we sort of we close out, can you please tell me, each or both of you, whatever, so a defining moment in your journey? So as a business, every business leader faces a pivotal moment that shape the path that they're on. Can you share a specific moment, whether it's a bold decision that you've made, a major setback that you've had, an unexpected opportunity that was like, oh, wow, where you learned a critical lesson that can then go out to other people that are starting their business or are thinking of starting their business, that they could be like, oh, right, if I hear that or see that or feel this type of, setback or objection, I can remember this information.
So many, but I mean, don't let anyone tell you what your ceiling is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, I've probably had one of those in the last week or so. It's a new business, right?
Yep.
Like we're literally, 4 months in?
Yeah.
It's a new business. And so with that comes highs and lows.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have lows, and we're lucky that we have each other when we have those lows.
Yeah.
Like one of us pulls each other out. So that's probably one of the biggest things. But we have had periods where we've been like, oh my gosh, is this going to work?
Yeah.
And that's normal, I think, for a new business.
Absolutely.
In the last week or so, we have had so many new clients approach us from so many different avenues. And it's like all of those things that we did that we didn't think were working.
Yep. All those little things.
All of the little things,
Mm-hmm.
like keep doing the little things.
Yeah.
That has been something that's been so major for us. And it's literally happened in the last week or so that we've had so many conversations where I'm like, it's working.
Yeah.
All of those little things where everybody said, I don't know if you're going to get any benefit out of that.
And was that from, so how are these clients finding you? Is that from like a marketing stance? Is it word of mouth is starting to happen? Is it a combination of many different things?
Yeah, so it's a combination. We have obviously put ourselves out there, definitely on social media, but with other, local professionals, because we didn't know them before we did this. So we've made a point of going out, going to networking events, making sure that we meet lots of people. And I think that's the biggest thing is don't keep your circle small when you do these things. The more people that know about you, the more likely you are to have periods where someone approaches them and says, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And they go, it's not actually what I do, but I know someone who can help you.
Yeah.
And if you've got 2 or 3 people doing that, great. But what if you've got 20 or 30 people doing that, or even more?
Yeah.
So it's definitely been a combination. It's been our marketing strategy. It's been the people that we've met, the connections that we've made, the people that we are now the professionals that we're now working with. So obviously that's a little bit different in our space, accountants, brokers, all of those kinds of things. That's not necessarily transferable exactly to other industries, but service-based industries in general, just expand your network. Like it's so incredibly valuable. And we're kind of at that point at the moment where like, this is working.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So I guess going from there, right before we wrap up, can you give us one more last pitch? Who you are, what you do, where do people find you?
We are Tayme Financial Group. We are your local financial advisors, but we can service you wherever you are in the country. We are here to help with everything related to your financial life and even a little bit further. We want to help you reach your goals, no matter what they are.
And you can find us on social media. So Tayme FG, Tayme, which apparently is a little bit different, but so we're on social media. Our website is tayme.com.au. And we've got, online bookings, contact phone numbers, all of those kinds of things. So you can reach us that way.
Perfect. And I'll have all the details and the caption down here.
Beautiful.
So they can click straight through to your LinkedIn and your website and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
So-
if they're not sure, just give us a call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Perfect.
it's easiest just to have that conversation.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much,
Amazing.
ladies.
Thank
It's
you so
been an
much.
absolute
Thank you
pleasure.
for having us.
We've loved it.
To help support our continued mission to provide free, best-in-class advice from the world's most compelling business leaders, make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss an episode. See you next Thursday. Thanks for tuning in to The Business Game. If you like what you've heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, SmoothX, for powering today's episode, and join us again on the next episode of The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle.